referral diva. This is Get Connected. We have moved from Blab, which is now no more. I was shocked to find out that Blab is gone. So we've moved from Blab to Google Hangout. And so for those of you who are watching, hi, and thanks for being here. And for those of you who are watching the recording, we're glad that you tuned in for that. I am here today with a friend of mine. Her name is Marisa Murgatroyd. And Marisa is someone that I met while I was out in California at a really cool business building retreat called the Conscious Business Playground with Bill Barron. And we got to room together and I got to know her really well. She does a whole lot of really interesting things with online marketing. She's an exceptional trainer. She runs Superhero Academy, I believe. And so she's up to something new. And this new thing that she's up to is really about leveraging your customer experience to help you increase your revenue and build a better business that fuels your passions and funds your dreams, which is my passion. So anytime I've got somebody who can help you guys do that, I want you to meet them. So Marisa, why don't you just kind of tell everybody a little bit about your background, who you are, where you come from, and where this idea that you're hashing out was born.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was actually a documentary film director for the first 7 years of my career. And what started to happen is that I realized that very few people were seeing the films that we were creating. Like, I think you spend a year or two, the average documentary takes, I think, 2 or 3 years to create. And 95% of documentaries are seen by less than 1,000 people. And as someone who likes to make an impact, the equation of spending like 2 years of my life to create something that's being seen by 1,000 people or less was just really demoralizing, right? And what I realized is that documentary filmmakers really believe that the information they're conveying, because a lot of times it can be shocking information or information they feel like needs to get out into the world, it's not enough. Because that's not what engages people. People aren't engaged by information. If they were, then Google would have solved all the problems in the world by now. We're having indexed like trillions and trillions of pages every single year. But it's not. Like, we're not all happy, hot, rich, successful, healthy and fit and all of that. We really have the same problems that we've always had. So information just doesn't solve the problems of the world. And I ended up getting really frustrated and having this whole thing where I left the documentary film world because I wanted to make more of an impact. I wanted to actually impact more than 1,000 people with my ideas. And so I joined the nonprofit world, right?
Wow, okay.
And yeah, in the nonprofit world, I worked with this nonprofit called Lane, and they were actually really, really good at engaging people around their cause. They planned all kinds of things like huge galas at the Beverly Hills Hilton. They had celebrity endorsements and people coming to their events. They even organized a civil disobedience where something like 50 people got arrested that became this big thing in the streets of Los Angeles. And they did all sorts of things that got people super engaged with their cause. And because of that, they were able to pass legislation in the city of Los Angeles that's since been passed all over the country that really advocated for, the rights of people and communities and the environment and all of that, because they were so good at understanding how to mobilize people. And along the way, I started to realize that what people really want and crave, it's not more information. We live in a world where there's over 1 billion websites online and more coming online every single day. I mean, you're talking about something like 200 hours of video uploaded to YouTube every second. It's like YouTube and Google are these gigantic repositories and libraries of content. I mean, even the top Ivy League universities, in this country have released their entire course curriculum online for free because they realize it's not the information that makes them great. It's the experience that they create for the people who come in their doors. So what I've realized and what I've seen is that 2015 marked the first year in the history of the self-paced e-learning movement where the industry had negative growth. It declined like negative 2.7%. And so many people are putting their ideas and their content and their blogs out on the internet, whether they're in a service business, like I've got a branding agency, whether they're in a product business, whether they're coaches or consultants or professionals, they're trying to put their information out there to get people to come to them. But the value of that information is going from, is like the sales are dropping and the prices are following, and it's really becoming less and less. This information that's less and less valuable. So what I started to realize is that what people want and what they really crave is fun, engaging experiences that allow them to actually feel something and usually do something. And if you're in any kind of industry where you require your customers to get into action, if you're a lawyer, for example, you might have a customer who needs to get into action to read through all the paperwork. If you're an accountant, you have to deliver, your taxes to your accountant and get them all prepared. If you're a coach, you need, the person that you're coaching to actually do work to change their lives. You can't just give them advice. They need to implement that advice. So if you're in any kind of industry where you need people to take action in order to get the results, what we find is that this 18th century approach to providing information no longer works in today's 21st century world. And so the idea of trying to create change through information, it just doesn't work. And at the other hand, on the other side of the extreme, you see things like Pokemon Go, this new, cell phone app that is making $1.6 million a day from the first month that it went into business and has tripled the valuation of Nintendo, is because it's really getting people out into the real world and getting them to take action and have these fun and engaging ideas. So if you look at the world of entertainment, whether it's reality TV or video games, they're actually causing stampedes of people to run through the streets in Central Park, New York, or in the Santa Monica Promenade to go catch little virtual creatures. Adults are going to catch little virtual creatures on their cell phones. But I know it sounds really silly, and I'm not at all suggesting that you gamify what you do. But if you can understand how they're able to mobilize people to action and really engage them, when you can use some of those tactics that entertainment is using, but use it for really life-changing, meaningful topics, which is your expertise and what you want your audience to do. And if you can even imagine anything near people running through the streets to take action on the things that you work with them on, that's a game changer. That's what causes people to actually change their life, right?
Yeah, absolutely. One of my favorite gurus is Seth Godin, and he's really good at prediction, right? One of the things that he's so able to do is kind of look into the future. And a few years ago, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, he wrote a book, and I can't remember the name of it, but he predicted the end of the information age and the beginning of the age of connection. And one of the things that I think is really interesting is, and I think that you're solving this problem, which is an engagement problem, right? So we're watching Facebook, for example, and we're saying, well, Facebook is where I put my personal things, and LinkedIn is where I put my professional things, and Twitter is where I do whatever I do, and Instagram, we've got this compartmentalized way of looking at our engagement through social media and electronic means. So one day I am at a BNI meeting, because my husband and I run BNI here in the Midwest in St. Louis and Southern Illinois. And I say, oh my gosh, you guys are so cute. I wish I had your Facebook life. And they bust out laughing, and they're like, girl, I wish I had my Facebook life. So what we're starting to see is that the same disconnect the same business thing, I'm businessy and professional, that we tend to do in person that yanks us out of authentic communication and real meaningful work together, is the same thing that's social media has kind of become that. And I find it really interesting because it does impact the way that we influence our clients, because if we're professional, and I rail against that word a lot, if we're out there being professional, buttoned up, guarded, big wide walls, all, afraid to talk about who we are, and in meaningful ways, we're really transactional, no matter how relational we'd like to be. So we're talking to our customers, and we need them to give us papers, and then we will give them product. But that doesn't, anybody who's watching that's ever had a customer that has to do something in order for you to deliver your product knows that typically the only thing that gets a customer to move to action is the deadline. The taxes have to be filed on April 15th. So your client is running to you with their paperwork at 2 o'clock on the 15th saying, is this soon enough? Can you get them in? Right? So there's got to be a way to create more engagement. And let's face it, I was at a training this weekend. Jay Abrams said, look, if you want to make more money and have more impact, you can do 3 things. Number 1, you can get more clients. Number 2, you can increase your average transaction value. Or number 3, you can find a way to get your customers to re-engage, to engage with you more often. And I think that's what you're really talking about. You're talking about, how do I get my clients to engage more often so that my value is there and they're willing to trade their money for not only my expertise, but for the experience, and then are willing to go tell people about it so I can also have more customers. So it seems to me that three-level piece that Jay Abrams talks about in getting all you want out of everything you have is really what you're solving. But when we use your mindset and we learn how to create that experience, we solve all three problems, but we just go into it from one angle. Am I making any sense?
Yeah, absolutely. You said a lot there. So there's many different points there. So let me talk about the Jay Abrams piece too. It's, well known in business that there are three ways to make more money. One is to get new customers. And the challenge with focusing your entire business on getting new customers is that it's 1,200% harder to get new customers than it is to sell more to an existing customer. So what you find is that people end up on this marketing treadmill of needing to market more and more and more to get more people in rather than engaging the customers they have and then making the upsell. And for most businesses at the same time, 80% of the revenue comes from the top 20% of the customers. So a model that's based on churn and burn, it's not effective. You're going to work a lot harder and you feel like the politician who's spending all their time trying to get reelected and less time governing and serving. So that particular model is not effective to only go after, new customers all the time. Then of course, there's raising your prices. And a lot of times people are willing to pay more for fun and engaging experiences that go beyond the norm. So to your point of, I think Seth Godin and your point about social media and the need to be buttoned up and to look professional is a lot of professionals put themselves into a box of how they think service delivery or, advice delivery or product delivery needs to look like. I've had so many conversations. I was talking to a dancer at some point in time and she's like, Marisa, I don't really want to do webinars. I don't really feel like sitting down for an hour. I'm not the kind of person who can sit down for an hour. And I said, what makes you think a webinar has to be you sitting down for an hour, right? Nothing at all. We're here on video. Like I could be standing up, I could be dancing, I could be doing whatever I want to do because there's so much latitude for us to deliver our work in really fundamentally different ways that are going to revolutionize the industry that we're in and get people to come and actually engage with what we do in like higher and higher numbers, right? And then the third thing you said is, of course, increasing the value of your work. Like people are paying more money, and when you can get them results faster, they're willing to pay more money. Like a lot of people are trying to deliver this masterpiece and be the guru with all the answers and give all of this comprehensive information. I just sat down before this call with like our co-employment benefit company who is working on our employment benefits, and oh my freaking God, I was pulling my hair out. It was like all of this language, like I had no idea what any of these terms meant. It was super technical. Maybe like 20% of them actually related to the industry. The rest of them relate to sweatshops and people like doing garment pieces and things like that. I'm like, why are you telling me all of this? And it was so frustrating because I felt like there was no recognition of who are they even talking to? There was no research that was done. And I'm super frustrated over there. And I'm like, oh my God, when is this gonna end? And I feel like so often when it comes to whether it's a service provider or a consultant or a coach or something like that, they sometimes are trying to demonstrate or be thorough, but nobody wants to read War and Peace anymore for the most part. They want the Cliff Notes version. And if you can help get them to the result or give them the minimum amount of information they need to succeed, they're gonna love you for it. And they'd way rather pay you more money for you to get the result faster and avoid like that miserable experience of having to wade through a bunch of information that's not relevant if you're not trying to become the expert and you just want a result, which is why you're hiring someone to begin with, right? To help you get that result faster and to only understand what you need to know. And if it's in a product, it's the same thing. But for whatever reason, when we go into professional mode, two things happen. One is all the personality just drains from most people's body, right? And the thing is that people learn and take action are motivated through peak emotional experiences. And peak emotional experiences do happen through human connection and through storytelling and all of that. And the other thing that happens is they feel like they've got to dot every I and cross every T and end up adding all of this layer of like unnecessary stuff to a process that actually demotivates people to take action and has them like drag their feet even more. So there's a concept, if you actually look at human biology, when we feel like we're moving towards our goals, we're meeting our expectations, we're winning, our brain releases the happy chemicals of serotonin and dopamine, and we feel joy and happiness and triumph. But when we're not moving forward like that, it blocks the release of those chemicals. So we start to feel frustrated and overwhelmed. And almost most people's products are designed around information delivery rather than experience creation and results, like achieving results as quickly as possible. So instead of creating what I call like an upward growth spiral, like a really positive experience escalation by getting them result after result after result, of creating constant wins so they can gain unstoppable momentum and get into action, we're actually creating what I call the downward death spiral of negative experience escalation, where they sign up for us, we give them an information packet that's big, or we send them like 5 emails with paragraphs and paragraphs of text. And the first thing they think is, I don't have time for this. I'm going to come back to this later. And for 97% of people, later doesn't happen. I mean, just in the info industry alone, only about on average 3% of people complete the products that they buy and get the results, because everybody is being like overwhelmed and inundated with all this information that people feel obliged to provide that nobody wants to begin with. And no one's really talking about why the results are so abysmal, which is why the industry is experiencing decline, and how we can actually fundamentally shift the entire paradigm to be 21st century with their customers. I mean, the human attention span has dropped from like hours in the 1700s to like 7 seconds, which is 1 second less than a goldfish. And we're still assuming that we've got hours and hours of attention, right? And we don't realize we're talking to freaking goldfish, right? So seriously, we've got to change the way we deliver our products and our services and our coaching if we're going to at all be successful and viable in today's like completely information overloaded market. And the really interesting truth of the matter is that, you know, this is like, if you continue to just run your business based on information alone, it's essentially like trying to open a video store after Netflix was invented. You know, you're going to be completely obsolete. So if you are ready to kind of experience this information product revolution that I'm talking about, to learn from the kinds of products and industries that are booming like crazy and bring some of these core principles, I call them the experience formula, 10 specific principles to add into your products, into your services, into your advice, in your work, you're gonna be a lot more relevant. I mean, it's like buying stock in Netflix on day one, right? Rather than trying to continue to do things in the old way, which isn't working anymore. But we've all just been conditioned that this is the way business is done. But it's not anymore.
It's not, right? Something that I found so interesting, and you know Justin Livingston is as well or better than I do. And, you know, one of the things that I really respect about him, and it's really what you're talking about as well, is like, we're in a space where of innovation. It's like this velocity, like an increase in the velocity of innovation, right? So stuff that worked for 50 years, then we did something new and that worked for 20 years, and then we did something new and it lasted 10 years. Now we really have to look at what's working, and if it's not working, if we want to stay in business and we want to stay relevant and we want to continue to make an impact and truly help people that are in our community, we've got to get on the innovator side of Roger's curve, right? Like, we can't wait to be a middle adopter or a late adopter or a laggard. Like, you can't be in that space. You've got to realize that if you're doing, at some point, if you're doing what everybody else is doing exactly the way they're doing it, you're already at the back half of the curve. So figuring out a way to be innovative and figuring out a way to provide that experience is really critical. And even in my own coaching, one of the things that I talk about in terms of how do you elevate your price, for example, is that price is actually based on what the customer feels the commodity is worth, whatever the commodity is. And if you really want to raise your price, what you have to do is solve their problem you have to solve their problem and use the commodity as the tool, but make the problem solving, the experience of solving a problem with you, that's what you're selling. You're not selling the tool.
No,
right?
It's the age-old debate between features and benefits, and like most people are selling 80% features and 20% benefits, and that whole paradigm needs to be flip-flopped. You know, people want the benefit, and the benefit means getting that benefit as quickly as possible and not the result. What I did want to say about being on the innovator's curve is absolutely, but a lot of people take a word like innovation and think it's about innovation for the sake of innovation. Like, let me make my cell phones pink now instead of black, and there I've innovated, right? But that kind of innovation, not really, it's a feature-based innovation. It's not a result or benefit-based innovation. Now, when you innovate in a way that makes your customer experience that much better, or that eases your customer journey, gets them the result quicker and faster, or helps them have more fun along the way, then that becomes a lot more powerful. One of the most powerful value levers, which means a way to increase the value of your products, is the idea of goal accomplishment or project achievement. There's also things like performance enhancement and things like that. So when you're able to do that for people, they're willing to pay that because that's something that they want. It's not just making a better mousetrap, which is what so much of the innovation is about, is making the better mousetrap that nobody wants the better mousetrap, right? So that's really what this is all about. And there's actually a core set of 10 principles that I teach as part of the experience formula. And the cool thing is that even though, like what you were talking about, the product life cycle has gone down to like 6 months or less, which means the innovation is happening that fast in a lot of our main industries, whether it's healthcare or pharmaceuticals or technology, and technology even faster. But the experience formula that I'm talking about, it's not based on technology. Like 8 out of the 10 principles have nothing to do with technology. It just has to do with working with human motivation that's been the same for the last 1,000 years and will be the same for the next 1,000 years. So we're actually talking about universal principles of understanding that your products, like we're not in an age where the product is, here's the chicken, you know what I mean? Which might be what people used to do at the dawn of commerce, right? Right now, what people want from their products and the things that they're buying and paying money for is very different than what they might have wanted at the dawn of commerce when we were first trading stones and chickens, right? So we need to evolve, and we need to realize, what are people really craving, and how can you give it to them? How can you create the experiences that cause them to feel something? And when they feel something, more likely to take action and change their life for the better. And when they do that, they're more likely to buy from you again and tell people about you. And actually 1.3 is the number of customers that each customer needs to refer for you to get off the marketing treadmill once and for all. So if you provide such an extraordinary, experience for people where they're getting results, that you completely change the rules of the game, where they're actually excited to work with you, it's no longer like obligation. You're moving from an obligation-based model of I have to do this thing to an inspiration model to I want to do this thing. This is fun. I'm winning the game. I want to keep going. I want to see what happens. And you inspire just each customer to refer 1.3 new people. Your business is going to be able to experience like a 20% growth without any marketing. So you can return to being of service, which is why most people go into business to begin with, and stop just trying to get reelected and sell and sell and sell and market and market and market, because what you're doing, unfortunately, nobody intends their work not to be as effective as they want it to. We all go in with good intentions, but there aren't a lot of people talking about what it takes to really help people create real lasting change in their lives. And what it means to go beyond just mere product delivery and service delivery to creating real transformation for people and actually working with their own internal biology of winning. This like ancient, system that we've all got that gets us excited when we're winning, and that actually stair steps us up in not just the actions we're willing to take, but our commitment to our goal, as well as the belief that we've gotten the confidence in ourselves that we can do it. So one of the biggest reasons why people don't buy, and if they do buy, they don't complete a program, is belief in themselves and their ability to achieve the result. And very few of these programs are delivered in a way that help people reinforce their belief, one small action, task, or commitment at a time. And so many programs and services and offers don't have like a clearly defined mission. So for people in order to feel like they're moving towards their expectations and feel like they're winning, they've got to know what it is that they're moving towards. And a lot of times it's like this generalized thing, right? And it's not specific, because your mission, if you choose to accept it, and the Mission Impossible movie did it best. Like for my particular product, I say your mission, if you should choose to accept it, is to design, market, and deliver your first lucrative experience product in 8 weeks or less. Super clear, right? You know what you're saying yes to, you know when you've accomplished it, you can have clear milestones each step of the way. And when people understand where they are, where they're going, and the vision for their future selves, and are set up to win from day one, even from day zero in the marketing process, then all of a sudden you've got something where you can keep them engaged. And it's not always super obvious how to do it. Let me give you an example. One of my students, Steph Ritz, she works with people to help them like translate their ideas into kind of books and into writing. And she had this retreat that she was selling people into called the Redwood Retreat, to go write their book in the Redwood. And, you know, the Redwood Retreat, it's not the best name in the world. So I helped her rebrand it to Write Your Book in Paradise. That way she could change locations at different times. Sometimes it might be in the Redwoods and it might be on the beach somewhere, but it's very clear what they're going to do. But what she found when she first tried to sell the retreat is she only sold one person at $3,000, is that there was a lot of fear of people feeling like they were left behind before they even got started because they didn't know what their book was about. So if they're buying this whole retreat to write their book in the Redwoods, but they didn't know what their book is about, they felt like they were already going into the retreat behind. So they weren't buying because they didn't feel like they were being set up to win. So understanding this notion of constant wins, which is one of the principles of the experience formula that I teach, that I've drawn from my own experience, and I've gotten like 10x sales and 10x results for my clients with my products using this stuff. So we went and we looked at that, and Steph actually changed it. And now, as soon as someone signs up and she lets them know this, she actually does a pre-session with them to get their entire book outline done before they even go to the retreat. So like a third of the project is done. They know they're going to have her one-on-one support. They know the project is going to be done. So when they get to the retreat, all they got to do is work on the execution of it. They're not trying to figure out, what's my book? What's the title? Do I have an idea? What's it about? What am I going to be writing about? So that's an example of seeing where are people getting stuck? How can I deliver that experience right away that addresses that core objection and allows them to gain some momentum? And the very next retreat, she did something like $27,000 or $28,000 from $3,000, right? Like a huge jump, or it was $20,000. I can't remember exactly what the jump was, but it was at least like 10x the original amount. And now with her third retreat, she's about to sell it out. So just that one simple change of not assuming like for your customer, but really taking the time to understand them and what's going to help them get to the result completely changed this for her.
You know, one of the things that I think is really interesting, and again, you know, I've shared with you, a lot of the folks that I work with are financial advisors, insurance agents, attorneys, CPAs. They're really people that are focusing on helping people with their money, helping people around money. And, you know, one of the things I'll tell you, I kind of want to do your program and pretend like I'm an accountant, because I really want my CPA to make it fun for me to do record keeping. Like if you could find a way for a CPA to make it fun and rewarding to keep the right records and stay up to date and send all your receipts, all that kind of stuff. You know, those are the kinds of things I think you're talking about, is finding out what is, because I don't have time is not it. I mean, we say it, I don't have time, I don't have money. Alex Mondosian's really clear. It's not about time, it's not about money. It's about three things. It's about coachability, it's about priority, and it's about mentorship. You know, do you have a motivation to change? Is getting the problem fixed a priority? And, you know, are you willing to take mentorship on that? And I think that's really what we're talking about with our clients, is if they're not engaging with us, they're not giving us what we need to be able to deliver a quality product for them. It's because we're not, the stopgap seems to be this experience that you're talking about, which is, you know, it's not just about the numbers and the receipts and the bookkeeping and the P&L and the balance sheet. It's about creating an experience around creating those things that feel so amazing that when you're done, you feel like a superhero because all of those ducks are in a row. And it's relieving some other thing in your life. You know, it's creating a win somewhere else as well. So it's interesting. And I know you just, what really blew my mind, because I'm in the referral business, is that notion that if this year you can get your clients to give you 1.3 referrals, you can have a massive increase in your business. And I'm in the referral business, so thank you for that stat, because that's really huge. And then how do we use what you're talking about, this experience, from my standpoint, from the people that are in my BNI chapters? So I have these groups of people that are saying, hey, we're your business building mechanism. We're going to help you build your business by referral. We're going to step in and be your marketing team. We're going to go out and do the Pokemon thing, which I think is great. We're going to go look for the people that you need to meet, tell them that you're great, and then bring them to you. Mm-hmm. Like, that's the game, right? So figuring out for me how to bridge that is going to be really interesting, because obviously, you know, I'm going to work with you on this program. But I'm really interested to bring a couple of people along with me in some other industries. So I'm putting out the challenge right there. So for those of you who are watching and you're thinking, how on earth is this going to work for me? let me tell you, Marissa's a genius, and well, I know that she's going to make it work for all of us, but talk to me a little bit more about any of the principles that you want to share, because we've got about 7 minutes left. So is there any, you want to give us like one or like?
Yeah, well, I mean, one of the principles that I said is to have a clear mission, right? So if you're an accountant, a lot of times it's just like, you hire me, I do your taxes. That's not the most clear mission, right? So if someone said, okay, you hire me, I do my taxes, our goal is then say, you frame it. Usually what happens when you do your taxes, you go in last possible minute and then you drag your feet forever and you get it done. I work a little bit differently. Instead of doing this like emergency-based tax preparation, I work with people throughout the entire year. My goal is for you to, you know what I mean? My goal is for you to actually be saving money and saving taxes every single month. And what we're going to do is we're going to create like a win account. So my goal is for you to double your savings every single month. And by creating this win account, you're actually going to put 50% of that savings back into the business and 50% into your fun account, right? So each month you're going to know whether you've been able to do this, and you're going to go have fun and blow your fun account, right? I mean, that's just an example. So like that you could do. So my goal as an accountant is to double your savings, or whatever it happens to be, is to save you $10,000 more a month, whatever it makes sense for each customer. It could be a general number, it could be a specific number. And then what I want you to do is I want you to reinvest 50% of that savings, and I want you to blow 50% of that savings on fun, right? And I want you to tell me how you blew that savings. So each month, I want you to send me a quick text message. Hey, this is me skydiving off a plane. This is me in the Mayan Riviera, whatever it happens to be. It's going to be a lot more fun because now they associate, you know, every single month preparing their data rather than waiting to the end of the year, and it's this huge burden, and actually increasing their fun account every single month, right? That's just an example. And
so see, all you people that think that you just do numbers and you just write documents, this woman is super creative. Like, I didn't prime that at all. That's just, she's thinking on her feet. So that's really amazing. And I do love it. I do love the notion that things should be simple, easy, and fun. I just did this training in Miami, and the trainer said, you know, if you believe that everything is simple but not easy, or, you know, complicated and difficult, then who wants to do things that are complicated and difficult? And that's why that Staples commercial with the easy button is so funny, right? Because it really speaks to the heart of who we are. Like, I just want to slap it, and I want it to be easy, and I want to experience the result with as little effort as possible. And so it sounds to me...
Yeah, I know what I was going to say related to that is, imagine that if that was your accountant that you went to, instead of the person who's miserable and hates their job because they have to deal with people who hate working with them all day. But if you like completely shifted the paradigm and you did something like that, and then you have people like, as the accountant, they're text messaging pictures of themselves like skydiving or something. And then what do you think is going to happen to the customers? They're going to be like, oh my God, guess what? My accountant just saved me $5,000 this month, or $10,000 this month. And he insisted that I spend $5,000 on something that was actually going to get me so excited and fuel me and like energize me, so that I'm going to go and actually create more money because I'm actually so much more filled and fulfilled, right? I mean, that would be like the kind of accountant that I would start talking to people about and spreading the word about, right? And if you're getting those skydiving pictures on his phone or whatever, and then he's uploading to Facebook, just save this person $10,000 this month. She spent $5,000 skydiving, which is her lifelong dream. I mean, freaking hello, right? That would be like a totally, you know, upsetting the whole paradigm. And that's just like one particular idea, but there's so many different things that you could do, which is aligned with your personality. Like, if that's not you, if that's not your personality, you don't have to do it that way, because there are so many different what I call emotional markets, right? And fun and adventure is one of them, but there's all kinds of ways that people self-identify with the person they work. So maybe you don't work with people who like to have fun, you know? Maybe you work with people who have security, and then there's a different kind of incentive there. So like, what you create is based on who you are and the kind of people that are your ideal clients. You know, Simon Sinek, who wrote the book Start With Why, said, your job is not to sell everybody who needs what you have to offer. It's to really, you know, sell to people who believe what you believe. So if you've got this core belief in having fun, and when you're happy and juicy and fulfilled, you make more money as an accountant, and then you implement something like I said. But if you have a core belief in like safety and security and making sure that you're providing for your family first, you would do something really different. You could do challenges within the family or within the business, right? Where you're trying to hit certain goals, every single month, and you're watching the kind of thermometer go up every single month. And then when you've achieved that, then you can figure out, okay, we've done our $100,000 savings goal for this year. Now we're going to invest this in that. Like, you could do something completely different because you're speaking to people who believe what you believe. It doesn't have to look or feel a different way. It's aligned with how you naturally are and the kind of people that you most enjoy working with, right?
Yeah, it's, and I will tell you, working with entrepreneurs, and particularly sort of self-employed entrepreneurs, right? They're done working for the man, so they decide to work for themselves, and they're really great technicians, and they're learning to build a business. And that's really, I love helping those kind of clients. But the most difficult thing to overcome, there are two paradigms that they need to overcome. One is that if I'm not producing my widget, if I'm not physically producing my widget, I'm not making money. And we all know that, no, if your pipeline isn't full, you have no opportunity to make money. So really that's a huge paradigm shift. But this paradigm shift that you're talking about, that just because I have a spine does not make me a good patient for the chiropractor, right? Mm-hmm. Really, it's about, who are you? What is your emotional drive? Who do you want to impact? What is it that you want to help them with? Because it's impossible to help somebody with something when they don't think they have the problem you have, when they're not missing anything. They don't need that adventure because they don't feel like a longing to have it. So you're trying to sell adventure to somebody who wants security. And just because they have, just because they have a spine doesn't mean that they're going to do business with you or that it's going to be fun. So if you love adventure and somebody's trying to make you be secure, and you're like, but I don't value that, it doesn't matter that you have the problem, because the outcome that you want is different.
Yeah, but what I want to say with that is that a lot of people will say, I just want to say yes to every single customer. So they end up being like plain vanilla in their business and in their marketing and their approach to cater to everybody. And what happens is that's when your business starts to dry up, because there's nothing remarkable about what you do. So I think the challenge is that people put themselves into the box to try to appeal to as many people as possible. But by trying to appeal to as many people as possible, instead of really going for it and having the people that work with you be truly excited about working with you, you're actually shrinking the box rather than growing it, because you're talking about the same thing in the same way as everybody else and fighting for a smaller and smaller piece of the pie. So what we're talking about here is your business actually opens up and becomes more abundant when you put a stake in the ground and claim who you are, what you do, and who you serve, and why it matters in a way that's unique, and you dare to be different. And it can be so challenging because I think we're trained to try to say yes to everybody, to every single opportunity. And I like to make the comparison between the sun. Like, the sun basically shines at 34 trillion septillion watts, 34 septillion watts, which means 34 with 17 zeros after it. Like, that's more zeros than I can even imagine. But here's the thing, like, you can stand in the sun for a while without getting burned. Now, a laser shines with only 5 watts, but it shines and focuses that light just into a single point. And because of that, it can cut through diamond. Now, would you rather be the sun or the laser in your business? Now, most people would say they would rather be the laser, and at the same time, so many people are acting like the sun, trying to be everything to everyone, and their light gets lost. When you try to shine your light on everyone, it gets lost. And it's tempting to want to be everything to everyone. It sounds good in theory, but in practice, it really sucks as a business strategy, right? Because it makes it a lot harder, because you're trying to be like, woohoo, and market to the world. And nobody's got that kind of marketing budget or reach unless you're a Fortune 100 company. And even then, you can look at established industries like taxi cabs that are being uprooted by Uber and Lyft in a matter of years because they found a way to make it more of an experience, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The other thing that's really interesting about that whole conversation, Marisa, is that the problem with trying to be all things to all people is you can't really even say anything, right? Because if you have one message, then you're speaking to different people on different sides of different issues, and you just don't sound like you have much of a message at all. Whereas, it makes so much more sense to be laser specific and then create this experience. And I got to tell you, I'm all about creating community, and it really does revolve around this. It's creating communities of entrepreneurs that want to fuel their passions and fund their dreams. They have dreams, they have passions, and they want to build a business that helps them experience passion every day. Like they don't want to wake up in the morning and be bored. They want to wake up in the morning and be like, my business rocks. I love doing this every single day. Not that they don't have bad days, but it also needs to pay, and it also needs to allow them to have experiences. But I think when you're working in that space and you can find someone, you say, what are your passions and what are your dreams? And your passions and dreams align with my passions and dreams. We can do some really great things and create a lot of value, and money's part of that, but it gets bigger, right? So we get to a place of money exchange and then relationship that's so much bigger than the money exchange.
Yeah, absolutely. You need people to, one of the ideas behind mission is that you also have a vision of someone's future self. And the future self goes beyond achieving the result, but the ripple effect that achieving that result has on their lives. So when you're able to attach that goal achievement, project accomplishment, performance enhancement to something so much bigger, it helps people stay motivated in the times where things maybe are more of a struggle. You hit those like peaks and valleys of things, right? So that gets people really stoked, really excited, really inspired to keep going, as well as community. I mean, all that stuff is a huge part of what we're talking about here. And you really can do business in a fundamentally different way. Like you do not have to be boring. You do not have to be vanilla. You know, that worked when the industry wasn't as complex as it is. But now with the internet, with internet marketing and the ability to reach 3.4 billion people online, it changes things. You now get to have a lot more fun in your business. And that's actually the only way to stand out and rise above the noise of a billion websites at this point in time. I mean, this idea of taking a stand, for example, and having a clear message and not just trying to talk about everything is, for my company, we named our company Live Your Message, liveyourmessage.com. And our tagline is be the superhero to your tribe. Now, we're not trying to work with everyone. We want to work with people who are willing to step up and be something more to their audience, to be something of a leader, to be willing to think outside of the box, to be willing to solve problems in big ways, to be willing to be bold, to be willing to have the aspiration to change the world from their living room, right? So those are the kinds of people that we want to work with. And for people who are just like, yeah, I'm just going to dabble and stick my toe in the water, and maybe I want to do business and maybe I don't. I mean, that's great. And when you join our community, we see you in your fullest potential. And we're going to challenge you to get there because we know that you can be making a bigger impact than you are right now. We know that you can do this. So let's just do it. Right?
Yeah, that's awesome. And you just said, really being the leader and really being the best service provider you can be, whether you're talking about delivering information products, whether you're talking about building BNI chapters, whether or not you're talking about taxes, right? Really being the best you can be is about getting the people in front of you in touch with the vision of their future self and holding that vision for them and finding how what you do puts them on the path to what that vision is for a future self. And I think that right there for me, that's the diamond of this conversation is I don't know that we spend enough time with one another talking about what is that vision of the future self. So would it be okay with you? You can say no, but I'd like to share with you a little bit the vision of my future self. And then I wondered if we could end a little bit with you sharing the vision of what's your future self and how maybe we could help you get there. Is that fair?
Sure, let's do it.
Okay. So my real thing for me has been the journey of discovery has been that I'm at my happiest when I am connecting, teaching, and promoting. And wisdom has been a really big thing for me. So I really want to be that 100-year-old woman that people seek for wise counsel and for wisdom because they know that I have the knowledge and I have the experience that I have the ability to communicate it, which is really about the promoting part, right? That I can communicate that in a way that provides value and that it ends up connecting people to themselves, to their highest power, to the, whatever that is, and to one another on the planet, because our social systems are set up for division and our hearts are set up for connection. And that's really that's the space I want to play in for the next 50 years. So it's kind of where I'm at.
Absolutely. Well, it's a beautiful, very powerful vision to bridge the divide and connection. It sounds like the wisdom is actually about the wisdom of connection.
Somewhat, yeah. Yeah. So tell me a little bit about the vision of your future self. Number one, how does that tie in with what you're doing? Because obviously you are living your message and you are in touch with what the vision of your future self is. And how do we get in touch with you? Tell me what's going on, because you've got something fun going on, and I'm going to make sure everybody gets to know about it. But let's just kind of close with that, and we'll call it a day.
Yeah. Well, my vision for my future self is that I am on a mission to make business fun and engaging again, and to help people build a business that, you know, expresses who they are, and to get out of this land of vanilla, boring businesses in a box franchise to where everyone is going through the motions. And it's like we're back in the days where everyone had their lunchbox walking into the factory, but we've created our own, you know, assembly lines rather than doing what we really love to do. And I feel like the power of human ingenuity and what we're capable of in our own lives and in terms of inspiring and empowering other people is tremendous. And for some reason, it doesn't always translate into business. And I feel like when we allow ourselves to find that, to really find what makes us different and unique in the marketplace and express that, there's a reason for us to be in that particular business. We're more excited. We make people more excited to do the work. And then we figure out how to get better results for our customers and provide an incredible experience for them. I mean, that's how we change the world. And I really do think that business is one of the most powerful forces of change out there on the planet today, but it's doing business in a fundamentally different way than business is done in the past. So as a brand strategist, which is where I really began my journey, and a documentary filmmaker, this idea of doing it through creating unique customer experiences just feels like a natural fit. So my goal is to help 1 million people just really relaunch and reimagine their business in a way that's a lot more fulfilling for them and gets way better results for their customers too. And what I've seen in the initial experiments that I've done with experience products, because this is about a whole new category of product called an experience product, is that you can increase sales and customer results 10 times. Like, you're talking about increasing sales, which helps you, but also increasing the results for your customers, which helps them, which ultimately helps you. And it gets off the whole marketing treadmill where people are doing work they hate and get back to doing what they love to do. And that's really my vision. And I put together some, new, like hot new report about this whole experience product phenomenon. And it's out at experienceproducts.com/Virginia. So if you go to experienceproducts.com/Virginia, you want to understand more about this experience product phenomenon that I'm talking about, as well as the specific principles, the 10 core principles of the experience formula to bring into your work, then just go to experienceproducts.com/Virginia. And, this is going to be opening up on Tuesday. So on Tuesday, I believe that's August 23rd, it'll be available to you through September 9th. So you can watch all of that training and download those reports and right now, and just get in and see how can you really breathe new life into your business and create customers who love you and just make a lot more money doing it. You're muted.
I'm muted. Not anymore. I thought I was unmuted. No, that sounds awesome. And thank you so much for giving us a space to be able to download that. I can't wait to download my report and learn all about it. But I think that what you're doing, Marisa, is so special and so fabulous. And I absolutely love your energy. And I want you to know you've been on my bucket list for a really long time. And so I wanted to just thank you for reaching out and making that connection, because working with you is on my bucket list. So now's just a good time, right? Woo! So, now could be the good time. And I want to bring my tribe with me. And I believe that your ingenuity and my ingenuity with my tribe, when people in my tribe invest with my friends and want what they have and want those results, one thing that they know is that I'm investing right alongside them and that I'm going to support them too. And so what I think is really important to know is, two minds for the engagement of one, right? Like, I just want everybody to know you and to know your mind. You're brilliant. And I really appreciate the opportunity to have time with you today for you to talk about talk about this mission and vision and getting people back to their passion instead of sitting on the marketing treadmill.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much for hosting me. And you are awesome. And I'm so glad that I was on your bucket list. And I think that's kind of the promise of this work is people have told me that I've been on their vision boards and on their bucket list before. And how many businesses do people come up and say, working with you is on my bucket list? You know what I mean? Not a lot, right? So when you do things in this way that I'm talking about, people get to put you on their bucket lists and on their vision boards. And then it's like a fulfillment of something that they want just to have the experience of working with you. And that's kind of remarkable.
And the other thing that I'll throw out there is, I'm really big into referral marketing, and I do something called the referral tree, right? So I want to share with you the referral tree and then let you have the last word. But I was in a post office in 1995, and I met a woman named Sue, and Sue invited me to her BNI meeting. And through that BNI meeting, I met a woman named Teresa, and Teresa was the owner's wife, and she and I became friends. And through my knowledge, my intimate experience with her, I opened my coaching franchise, my referral franchise in my coaching practice where the Referral Diva was born. And because of that, I had bartered with a woman named Donna to go to an eWomen Network meeting where Callan Rush was speaking. And I met Callan Rush, and at the time, she was talking, and I thought, this woman has had all the problems that I currently have. She's my guru. I'm going to pay money that I don't have to go work with this woman. So then I ended up doing all their programs. And I actually started selling their intro event from the stage myself using their script with my friends because that was the only way I knew how to do it. I didn't have a list. I didn't have anything. And I earned myself a spot in a mastermind with Justin Livingston, and Bill Barron was there. And so I met Bill Barron, and then I wanted to go to his Conscious Business Playground, and I couldn't afford the room. And so that's where you came in because he was like, well, why don't you call Marisa because she's looking for a roommate too. And so what I find really interesting about all of this is no matter whether or not you believe at a given moment that you should download this report and really dive in to this material that Marisa has so kindly created and she's giving it to us, connecting with her, she knows thousands and thousands of people, and you never know where the next life changer is, and the next life-changing relationship could be the relationship that you create because Marisa is opening a door for us to step through. So I hope you guys will download the report. I'll be sending out some emails. I'll be tweeting and posting and making sure that you're engaged and abreast of what's going on. It's your choice to engage or not. But gosh, you don't know who she knows. I don't know who all you know. So all I know is that the next great friendship, the next great creation, the next great relationship is out there if you just come from a place of yes and walk through a door. And this door doesn't cost you anything. So thank you for providing that for my peeps because I think it's really generous of you.
You're welcome. And what I love about the people that you just mentioned is that Justin Livingston and Callan Rush are both my clients. And Bill Barron actually invested in one of my companies and is a 30% owner in one of my companies. So I'm like, talk about the circle of connection here, right? Which is amazing. So yeah, absolutely.
That's great. So last word, what's the last thing you want to say?
Well, I was just going to say, business can look fundamentally different than it does now for you. It can be fun. It can be exciting for you. And when it is for you, it is for your customers. And when you can create experiences, really wrap your expertise in information and experiences, you can actually really fundamentally like double, even 10x your sales and your customers' results and get off the marketing treadmill and start to return to what you do best, which is serving people. And when you do that, people will refer your business for you, and you can just go back to serving and changing the world with what you do. So really look forward to you getting your hands on the new report that I created at experienceproducts.com/Virginia. And I really appreciate you, Virginia, and your awesomeness.
Right back at you, Marisa. Thanks for the time, and I'm sure we'll be connecting again soon. And thank you all for tuning in, and for those of you who are watching this as a replay, thanks for taking the time to spend this hour with Marisa because she's really smart and she's out to help you grow your business, and I'm excited to work with you. So guys, that's it for Get Connected today. We'll be back with another show in a couple of weeks. So thanks so much for tuning in. And until we meet again, go out and be remarkable.